I'm with Clive and Jane Urquhart from Kingdom Faith Horsham. Now, you're not far from London. Have you been shocked and saddened by the recent attacks on Jewish people that are there in London?
Very much so. I think it's been something that as anti-Semitism has been rising for the last few years, and the attacks are becoming more direct, more aggressive, and more focused, aren't they? And I think yes, we're shocked on one level, but not surprised on another. So we have friends in the Jewish community. They're obviously very afraid of what is happening and don't feel like they're particularly being supported by many people in the situation they're in.
As part of the Christian community, is this a spiritual battle? And how can the church deal with anti-Semitism at the moment?
It's definitely a spiritual battle, yes, absolutely. I think for the church, it's firstly to recognise God's heart and love for Jews, for Jewish people. And as Christians, we need to love people, no matter who they are. And prayer flows, the best way that prayer flows is in a context of love. So I think we need to be praying for these guys, praying for them. But also, as the church, we need to be standing up for them. We need to build relationships, build friendships with people in the Jewish communities around the nation. We need to build friendships with people that we're aware of, that are Jews, and show them that we actually stand with them, that we love them, that they're not alone.
And I think that's important as well, particularly with the history of what's happened with the Christian church and the Jewish people in the past, isn't it?
Very much so. Christianity has a horrible history with the Jewish people over the centuries, and that can just leave distrust in the Jewish community that anti-Semitism is underlying, even in the church, in the Christian community. And so we have to work hard, and I think over time build trust and prove ourselves that we are like Ruth and Naomi, that we're going to stand with them and not leave them. We're going to stay close, and we're going to love them and be there for them and stand with them as much as we can. It's just so important to do that.
Do you think that relationship is building at the moment? Are Jews actually seeing that the Christian community does love them?
I would say maybe in small ways, small parts, places. I think, unfortunately, in the UK, the church on the whole doesn't stand with Israel and doesn't support them. And I don't know if many of them have relationship with Jews in their communities. So there are relationships, but I think it's few and far between, unfortunately. Yeah.
Have you been to London when the pro-Palestinian marches have been taking place? And what do you think of these marches?
Yeah, we've been in London, not obviously as part of the march, but yes, we've been up there when they've been going on. The atmosphere is quite aggressive. A lot of the slogans, a lot of the chants are very, very anti-Semitic, obviously. And there doesn't seem to be a lot done about what's going on. The government aren't really saying anything. They don't even call them hate marches. They just call them pro-Palestinian marches. And even though banners and slogans are said, it's incredibly dangerous, I think, what's been allowed to take place. And because it's not being kept, it's not being policed correctly, people haven't been arrested for things, it's just it's kind of opening the floodgates, really, for anti-Semitism to increase.
Do you think it feels a little bit like the 1930s Germany when you saw posters of the Jew, with the things that they said about the Jew and the hatred that they were building up with the Jews?
Very much so. It's the same. We've been to Auschwitz and we've done the Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, and you see all those images, that the pictures and the rhetoric and everything that was going on back then in the 1930s, and it's the same that's going on now, and it's just blatantly out there. And that's a scary thing. That's a very scary thing.
I think from what we understand of what happened in the 1930s, that in society it became a norm to persecute Jewish people and treat them in the way that they were. And you can see in the UK, for not everyone, but you can see it's growing, that it's becoming normal. It's okay, it's fine to persecute Jewish people, give them a hard time, blame them for everything. And when that becomes part of society, that's when you know something shifted. It's not just a small minority over somewhere that are giving them a hard time. It's now becoming, kind of standard in that sense for many. And that's a dangerous precedent in any nation when that happens.
We've seen an Oxford University student chant, "Put the Zios in the ground and death to the IDF." Why does Israel create so much passion? And do you think we actually need to reach the young people? Because the young people seem to be taking on board of this ideology. And why the young people are jumping onto this?
I actually think that, I know in the UK, obviously the 2-year war with Gaza has magnified hugely in people's minds Israel is an aggressor and the Palestinians are the victims. But most people don't understand the history. They don't understand what's gone on for decades and decades, even centuries, millennials, against millions against the Jewish people. So people jump into a snapshot moment, and in that snapshot moment, they make all of their opinions formed, and that aggressive kind of attitude towards Israel and the Jewish people then is seeping into a whole generation that have no backdrop, they have no history, they have no understanding. And most, when you ask them, so why are you shouting this slogan, what is this all about, they don't know. They don't even know where the rivers are they're talking about. They don't know the history of Israel. And it's like a popular thing to be anti-Israel and to be kind of anti-Jewish in that sense. So I think when it gets into the psyche of the culture and of society, you realise also the moral decay, spiritual decay in the nation. It leaves a vacuum and something's going to fill it. And you can see what's going on now, that the Jews are being blamed for so many things and Israel is an aggressor, whereas actually primarily they're just defending themselves against the aggressors. But the Palestinians have been put in that spot that they're the ones being persecuted, rather than understanding Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran, and the whole context that Israel are fighting for their lives in.
And yet, October the 7th was Palestinian aggression, killing women, killing children, killing innocent people, wasn't it? So, suddenly Israel's the aggressor now. How do we reach the young people today with what they're getting? Is it the colleges? Do we need to get more Christians in the colleges and things?
Yeah, I think there's probably different ways. I think if we can get into colleges and universities, and if you've got Christians that are in there, that are young people that have a heart for Israel, that's one way in which they can represent. I think social media is another context, although a lot of social media is just a war of words, isn't it, going on? But people are trying to get in there with the next generation. I think we obviously often there's conversation about reaching everybody en masse. Well, when you get en masse, it just becomes an argument. If we can get one-to-ones, ones and twos, have the conversations, help people understand the history, the legal legitimacy of Israel as well. And depending on if people are open, there's a biblical history as well. So I think people understanding some backdrop, some history, some context, maybe help shift something in some people's minds, which would help. And that's work, day in, day out, week in, week, conversations, trying to reach the next generation.
We've seen people stabbed on the street in Golders Green, ambulances set on fire. Is anti-Semitism spiritual, and is this demonic?
I would say so. It's obviously from way back. Israel have always been attacked. I love the fact that, when God spoke to Jacob and changed his name to Israel, that it means the one who's struggled with God and with men and has overcome or has prevailed. And Israel always prevails, no matter what's going on, how they've been attacked, empires have tried, they've come and gone, and Israel has still prevailed to this day, and they will prevail because they have this promise over them that they will prevail. And not everything they do is wonderful or perfect, but they have God, I believe, fighting with them and for them. And it is a spiritual battle, this whole time of their existence of coming under attack to destroy them, to wipe them out off the face of the earth, because they're called to be a blessing to the nations. So prayer obviously is important, and we believe in prayer. We pray for Israel, and we see constantly answers to prayer. Little things you're praying into, individual things, and then as you pray for the nation to carry on, to keep going in under all these attacks that are happening.
Is it in some ways society is sticking up two fingers to God and saying, God, we don't believe you? Is that part of the reason why anti-Semitism happens?
In the UK, I don't think a lot of people see God in the picture in anything. So I'm not sure if they would see that in relation to Israel. I just think a lot of people have been sown this mindset over a while that Israel is the aggressor. If it wasn't for Israel, there wouldn't be all these problems in the Middle East. And so you get this twisted narrative, really. So Israel's put in the spot, as the UN often does, in terms of human rights. And actually, the context is the other way round. So I think there's a constant battle to have to change the narrative, change the story, to bring it back to the true story rather than a false narrative that's out there.
Now, you're here at the moment in Jerusalem and you're going to the prayer breakfast. Is anti-Semitism going to be one of the things that they're going to be praying for this time?
Part of the Jerusalem Prayer Breakfast is the nations coming to Jerusalem to pray for Israel and the Jewish people, but it's also from Jerusalem praying for the nations. And I'm sure we're going to be praying at some point in regards to anti-Semitism against that, that's rising all over the world, because that is huge. And so, yeah, I think we're certainly going to be praying for the UK as part of that there's a shift, there's a change from Jerusalem to the UK, as well as us from the nations coming to Israel and praying here.
You're part of Kingdom Faith in Horsham. How do you bless the Jewish people, and how can you encourage people around the world to focus their eyes on the Jewish people and help the Jewish people at this time?
We often speak in our church and to our church about Israel biblically from Scripture. That's where it has to start from, and that's where we speak from, and teach and train and bring people, and just God's heart for the Jewish people, God's plans for Israel. You know, there is a future to come, and Israel is very much part of the end time story, and this is where Jesus is coming back to. So Israel has to be part of the narrative and the times that we're in. So we in our church, that's what we do, and encourage people to go.
I think also building relationships with Jewish people. We know a few, and just to say that we stand with you, we are friends. If you need us to help in any way, then please let us know. So there's that kind of trying to build trust, and we encourage people in our church to, if you know you've got Jewish people around your life somewhere, then connect with them, build a friendship. And I think that is one way of just encouraging them and saying that you're not alone, we're with you.
That must be working, because you were just recently invited to the Israeli embassy in London. What were you doing there?
It was the 78th anniversary of Israel. It was an event happening in London and we got invited to it. And obviously most of the people, I don't know how many, 600, 700, 800 people there, most of them were from the Jewish community, but a few others like us who are Christians have a love and a heart for Israel and the Jewish people. And it was really to celebrate 78 years of the nation being reborn and what's happened since then. And it's phenomenal when you hear the way that Israel is leading the world in so many different areas and being a blessing to the world, to the nations in that sense. And so I think we got invited to that because we've got a good relationship with the embassy. We've run 2 Jerusalem prayer breakfasts in London. We've done other things to build bridges as well. So I think the embassy sees people like us and others as friends of Israel in that sense. Therefore, we'd love you to be part of this celebration with us.
With all the aggression that's taking place within the UK at the moment, do you think God is actually saying to the UK Jews, your time is up, you need to come home? Do you feel that sense that God is calling the Jews home back to Israel from the UK?
Yeah, very much so. Actually, when I was in Jerusalem a year ago, I woke up with the Lord really speaking to me, return, return. I just felt an urgency in the heart of God for his people to leave the nations and come back home. This is their safe place. This is the place for them this is home, but also to come back to him. He's here. And when we're with our Jewish friends, we know this is what we share, this is what I share with them. Very much believe that that's what God is speaking to them. And we always say, this is with never again, the 1930s and 40s will never happen again, we'll never allow it. But the writing's on the wall, it's all the signs are there, which we've been speaking about. And I think that call is, you come home now. And so that's what we want to share with them. It's really important.
What is your prayer for British Jews at this time?
I think one is protection, that God protects them, keeps them safe. I think another one is that they would find friendship with Christians, that we're supporting them as the church. But also thirdly, that they, as James just said, that they really hear that call to return, to go home. And I think that is probably the most important response they could make really out of anything we could pray for is to come back to Jerusalem.
What's your website for people who'd like to know more about the work that you do and what you're doing in Horsham?
It's kingdomfaith.com, and if you go on that, then you can see all the different things we're doing. There is some things about Israel and the Jewish people on there too.
Well, Clive and Jane, thank you very much for sharing today.
Great, thanks very much for having us.
Thank you, Paul. It's good to speak to you.